Hi, I'm Edison,
I'm DC.
and welcome to Femmes React. If you're here from last week, thank you for joining us again. It was such a
If you're back.
it was definitely a mess. I honestly didn't think what I was saying was so controversial, but we got like a lot of comments just being like, "You're wrong," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm like, yeah, I didn't even know where to start with all of this. I don't know. DC, do you want to just do some quick Twitter shout outs before, while I think?
So just do a quick Twitter shout out. So like you follow us over on Twitter or stay interact with us. I love to do shout outs here. First, and this is surprise. One person's name is Temporary KinnPorsche fan page. Sorry, not sorry. Also Van C and also Leza Luna. So shout out to y'all. Thanks for following the page. And we'll see you there.
Yeah, if you want to interact with DC on Twitter, follow us on our Twitter page. We just watched the side story, and I don't think it helped DC, but it helped me, I think, understand Porsche a little tiny bit more, like, because we got to see a bit of a soft, childlike nature to him, which I didn't get. I wrote a bunch of notes that I'll go through in terms of like what I was thinking last week, because it takes me a while to process my thoughts and feelings in the moment. Maybe I didn't articulate them the best, which is why some of the comments I was like, I didn't even say that. Like, the time has let me understand what I was feeling at the time. Let's start off with my attitude towards KinnPorsche. There is a certain bias after the whole sort of consent debacle. I think just because in my perspective, they handled that bathroom scene very carelessly. And it's not about necessarily, we can disagree whether or not it was romanticized or not, but I think even the core issue of if it was consensual, that was so vague. You can even read it as when Kinn was deciding whether or not he wanted to have sex with Porsche, it was more about his own insecurities about whether or not those feelings were reciprocated. And once Porsche said, he remembered the kiss, that's when Kinn assumed that it was romantic love and whatever. But I think that's where the danger was for me. That's when it was sort of like you gave Porsche some fake agency and you convinced the audience that it was mutual and consensual. And I think that's where a lot of the complications are. And so in going into the show, I'm already distrusting the writers from that. And I feel like for me to just kind of like lambast them publicly, it feels just like I need to be more on that side where I'm trying not to be a hypocrite. Like, if I start enjoying the show more, then it needs to be to an extent that rectifies or is enough to, I wouldn't say justify, but like, so I could sort of compartmentalize that better, that scene. And so I sort of had like, I don't know if that makes sense, but I sort of have the same mentality for History 3, where the writers did like this weird non-consensual act into the show. But like, I liked everything else so much that I sort of was like, okay, that's put to the side. So I don't know if KinnPorsche will be the same thing. So far, it hasn't really made up for that to me. And so I sort of have this, continued bias. Am I gonna like look like a hypocrite if I am not continually like harsh on the show? Or do I feel like a hypocrite? Like, that's just one of the things I have going on in my mind. But yeah, the other things I thought that I didn't appreciate from last episode is we're getting less and less agency from Porsche throughout the whole show. We're not getting as much insight into Porsche the same way we do about Kinn. I feel like with every episode, we get to check in with Kinn's dilemma about him being a mafia boss, him being an emotional person and sensitive, and him struggling with being burnt in his past love. But with Porsche, we don't get the same amount of insight into what he feels about his current position with Kinn. We only get a lot of his personality from the first few episodes. And, it's a show called KinnPorsche. Like, I want both sides of the story. The thing with characters having no agency is I feel like it contributes, not necessarily to rape culture, but it's sort of gives people the mentality, I think, in traditional romantic media, that if you act or pursue someone or do some things in a certain way that is perceived as romantic, then you'll win them over eventually. And it's sort of like everyone has agency, and we need to sort of build that in, that, you know, people are allowed to reject you and whatever, no matter the reason or what you do. And I think agency is really important in understanding that other people are active in their reciprocation and wanting to be in a relationship. They're not just sort of won over, you know. It plays into that sort of toxic dating coach stuff where you can do certain things to like appeal to women. So that's where I'm coming from. The thing with me saying all this stuff and getting all the comments also is that I totally understand where people are coming from, because I want to also defend my favorite media. Like if someone is like, I don't like a show that you like, I'm kind of like, you just don't get it. And I get that. Like I get why people are saying the things I'm sort of like coming to terms with is we all just bring a different perspective to shows, and we have different interpretations, and I wouldn't say baggage, but like different life experiences that we will project onto the show. And so me not liking Porsche, that's because I've not liked similar people and similar archetypes in media and in life. And so people being able to see the sympathetic side to him, maybe you have more capacity for that. I don't. And I think that's fine. Like, I think it's, I'm just giving you my reaction to it. And, you know, it's fair that you want to say you don't understand it in the way that I do. I don't. And I think that's okay. But yeah, Porsche to me was very arrogant at the start, which is why I think watching the side story, that's only when I got the childlike nature of his personality, like his need for nurturing. Before that, I didn't really see that. And I feel like marrying those two, his arrogance and his childlike personality, that is a complex sort of deciphering of Porsche. I think it could have been included more, that aspect of his personality throughout the show, because at the beginning, there are so many moments of, I thought he had such high self-esteem that I was kind of weirded out that he felt like he needed validation from Kinn, because there are so many moments where he's kind of like, am I just another employee to you? The building up of Porsche's romance didn't make sense to me in that retrospect, because I was like, this is a dude who gets into club fights and you know, is so confident that he'll win. He'll ask Kinn for money to protect him on the street, and he's so confident that he can deliver on that. And it helps Porsche become a multi-dimensional person, but I think it's only the side story that I saw the other side of him. So I think I need just more information on Porsche to just see who he really is. The other thing about Porsche's developing feelings that I didn't necessarily see is a lot of it is tied into the non-consensual perspective, and needing to flip that or erase that is kind of imperative to seeing some of his feelings develop. For example, when he was drunk and he was kissed, we sort of brushed off his sort of gratitude, right? Because he was drunk. And if those were really his feelings, that would explain some of his feelings towards Kinn, but we didn't validate that. And even with the trauma episode, when he was trying to have a hookup, we thought it was because he was triggered, but if he was really just missing Kinn, then that would explain his feelings more. And so it's sort of just this thing where it's like, I don't necessarily know where they're putting the development of Porsche's feelings. And if it's in those moments, then I've completely misread them. But that also means the consent aftermath has been reduced and how they've handled it. So it's really tricky trying to figure out what's going on there. Now that I've seen more Porsche, I understand that he is a really immature person who had to grow up too fast and hasn't been able to become an adult and needs that sort of nurturing aspect. So I kind of get that. It is a stretch, but he sort of maybe sees Kinn as a bit of a daddy, like a bit of a daddy issue there. So that's sort of like where I'm sort of feeling like that's the relationship dynamic. I think the other thing that I struggled with, and that might just be a bit more of me being narrow-minded, is that it took me a while to see Porsche as queer, just because of the two moments in the show where he was shown to be constantly hooking up with women, or that's assumed as his lifestyle, and they never showed it with a guy. And so like that's how he was straight coded to me. And then also I think I'm picking back on that. I didn't really see him as someone who could fall in love easily because he hooked up with a lot of people. Like, I assume people have patterns where they just like are able to compartmentalize their feelings if they do fall in love easily and hook up a lot, or they don't fall easily, or if they fall easily, that's who they are. So in seeing someone who hooks up a lot, it was hard for me to sort of understand how he could fall for Kinn so easy. Then the other sort of thing is when he was set up by Big, he made this like speech where he was like, dude, it's 2022, like people are open-minded, like shame on you for being like that. That seems like a very ally speech. Like, it's not something I would expect from a queer person to say, just because you would be like, dude, I'm queer, of course I'm chill with it, you know? Like, so it was just a really, it might be a cultural thing that I'm missing, like it could be a cultural attitude that type people have. Yeah, it's taking me a while. I don't know if I'm 100% on board yet, but I think I do understand where people are coming from a little bit more in terms of the relationship dynamic, which was one of my complaints. The other thing towards the end was the believability of the couple in their fight. I think in the side story in episode 6, we saw how soft and mature they could get, and I thought the writing was bad in that moment when they had that fight where Kinn was jealous, only because it felt very cliche, and it felt very like Kinn was the man and Porsche was the woman. And the slap felt very like traditional in terms of like how women in traditional romantic media react to a jealous man. And so those words and those actions felt so removed from KinnPorsche's universe. Like, it felt like I was watching something that was traditionally heterosexual. And so like I have an issue with that in terms of like all BL when the bottom, and I'm doing quotes, bottom loses all agency and personality and they're reduced to a trope. Like, I see that a lot, and they're only in that sort of trope that fits what people think bottom should be when they're with the other person. So like I saw it in Until We Meet Again, I saw it in Ton Hon Chonlity, I see it in so many media where, you know, the bottom is an interesting person. They've got their own sort of personality and their own sort of characteristics, but once they're with the other person, they're in love, they're nervous, they're anxious around the other person, but they become very one note. And I think that's quite a disservice to the more feminine characters out there because they have their own uniqueness, and that isn't really explored when they're being reduced to cliches. So I felt just bored that Porsche was being reduced to a cliche in that moment, and Kinn was as well. And maybe people don't see it like that, but that's how I saw it. So in terms of that, I feel like the progress backtracked, and I didn't feel like the relationship was in a mature spot. And I don't hate messy relationships or toxic relationships. I was so into I Promised You the Moon, and I was like all over its hair cheating on PP, and I was like, yes, but the expectation for me was that they'd moved on, and it was just like, I just was like, why are we regressing? Like, that's annoying. So I get like my frustration in my delivery was super harsh, but that was how I was feeling in the moment. Now I'm a bit more chilled about it. Now I'm like, okay, yeah, the writing I don't think is the greatest. I still have my reservations about it, but the side story and just the time has kind of like mellowed me out in terms of like seeing Porsche as more, I see him more kid-like than anything. I don't think the arrogance is a front, but I can see how he can be confident in his fighting prowess and his attitude, but still need validation in love. So that's sort of making more sense to me now. For some reason. Do you have anything to say before we get started on episode 8?
Oh my goodness, I think you said it all. No, I just just kind of backtracking about what you said about like how when people love something and then somebody says anything different, then they're attacked and stuff like that. I think that stan culture can be great when you find somebody else would you like, but it also can be very toxic for like, it's just like, oh, you don't like it to the level in which we like it. We're not saying we don't like it. Well, I'm gonna say speak for me. I'm not saying I don't like it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but I like it.
For me, and I actually said this a couple of episodes or streams ago, I was like, it is what it is. It gives you hot sex, gunplay, and stylist, and that's it. It's not about like some great, discourse on feelings and all this other kind of stuff. And that's what it is, and that's what it's going to give you. We can't expect anything more. The only thing we were talking about was, well, one thing that I was talking, and that was kind of hit me, was the lack of consent, gray area, or whatever, lack of consent. Other than that, given it's doing what it does, KinnPorsche is KinnPorsching. It is what it is. Some people might not like some of the stuff that I like, you know? Hell, I love the snakes on a plane. And you know what? There are people out there who didn't like snakes on the plane. And I'm like, whatever.
And me and DC definitely also have different tastes a lot of the time. So I don't necessarily love the things that DC does at the same level. Anyways, before we start, I just want to thank the nice comments that we got last week. I think it is encouraging just to hear people that they appreciate the honesty. I mean, like, that's just something, not to say that it's super affected me, but like, it is something that is a recurring theme in my life, is that people think I am too honest, not necessarily as a bad thing, but it's just a thing. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I like don't give off the best first impression, because I feel like I have resting bitch voice. I don't know if it's a thing, but my natural intonation is a bit mean, because I grew up watching high school girls on TV, and I was like, I really like the mean, sassy ones. And I was always like, talk to the hand as a kid, you know? Because I was like into that. Maybe I should fully embrace it, but
no, because okay, so don't believe him, y'all. He's a nice person. I think that the only thing we can do is take care of our side of the street. Sometimes you say something the nicest way, and other people might just take it really, really bad, because they just they're so protective of this, or somebody says anything wrong. So you just got to do that on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I've been on such a crusade against KinnPorsche. It's sort of like, I don't want to portray the people who have supported our crusade by then going, this show isn't so bad.
But this is what I've said earlier on, and I'm glad we're going through this, is because you can't judge it until you're done with this season. You can't judge a story by like just reading halfway through the book and then just giving it up.
You were just telling me about Cupid's Last Wish, and now you're like, right?
What?
Well, you love it now.
Yes, because I didn't even, okay, so the thing about Cupid's Last Wish, and this is probably the sad thing, I was like, this is body switching, I'm not going to like it. And it's not until I sat down and I watched the whole way through that I'm like, wow, this is really good. You know, that's the same thing with Miracle of a Teddy Bear. Wow, at the end, you know, I even had to tell somebody, one of our viewers, like, take Miracle of the Teddy Bear all the way through the end. Just don't stop at the 4 episodes left. They did, and it's amazing. What we have a problem with right now is not the whole story. You know, one incident doesn't make the whole story, and that's why we're seeing it all the way through.
Papa and Daddy, I was like, this is a cool show, and then at the end I was like, this is trash. So things can change.
Who knows, they may land this plane, you know.
Sometimes we get comments, people are like, if you don't like BL, just don't watch it. And I'm just kind of like, I like BL. Like, the thing is, I don't know if this applies to anyone else, but as a, you know, first gen immigration in a white country, like, it's so important to me to see queer Asians in media, because I've grown up with just hetero white love stories my whole life. I don't know if the term is like decolonization, but I feel like through BL I can decolonize certain aspects of my brain. Before watching BL, I never felt super secure in pursuing or imagining a relationship with another Asian person, just because I was like, am I gonna belong to Australian society? It's like a weird sort of feeling, because I feel like if I don't date a white person, I'm missing out on Christmas, or I don't have access to whiteness in Australian culture, which is important in some degrees, because you don't want to seem marginalized, like you're already queer. People probably don't recognize that feeling, but it's something that I recognized. But I think after watching so much BL, I cared less about belonging to Australian society. It showed me how valid queer Asian love was. And I was just like, I could totally get with this, you know, screw Christmas. I don't really need it. So I still love Christmas. I love all the sort of like magic and the decor. But yeah, people, when they say don't watch BL, it's just, I watch it because I'm catching up. Like this, it's been missing my whole life, seeing this sort of content. It's the same thing with like having crushes on straight people or having crushes on masked people. It's kind of just like you've been fed one particular beauty, one particular romantic narration and story, and I think it's helpful to kind of knock that down bit by bit while you can. And I'm saying, you know, it probably goes, you know, to all sorts of minority groups and whatnot, you know. But for me, obviously, because I'm of this minority group, that's why it's special to me. I don't know if people get that perspective, but
what you're basically saying is just like representation helps you decolonize your mind and actually sees you in a place that you can be the main character in the story instead of somebody's like tag along, you know. And this is something that's possible, that can happen to you because you've seen it. Like, and that's the whole thing with a lot of people and a lot of kids, like they don't envision themselves doing something because they can't see it for themselves. If you only see like the blonde hair woman, skinny, always getting the man and all this other kind of stuff, then you're going to say, okay, you know what? That's what's worthy. That's what's valuable. I have no value because I don't look like them. But oh my goodness, in this area, this is possible. I've seen it be possible. I can do that, you know? So, and that's where representation comes, and representation in media is very important. And also like how we tell our stories, which stories we tell, and who's involved in them. So yeah, I get that. I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's not just imagining, it's also feeling, believing, and instinctualizing it. And, you know, I think a lot of Asian kids in Australia will be like, I wish I was blonde. I wish I had blue eyes. All that sort of stuff. Like, that's a common thread between a lot of us. It's wanting to have that happy ending and happy life. You know, even when I was discovering that I was queer, I was like, I'm missing out on heteronormative life. And I thought that was the only way to happiness. Yeah, it's so important just to know that it's valid. And your inbuilt sort of thing that you've learned and what society tell you is, you know, particular people deserve love, particular people are more attractive, more worthy. That's all just one perspective. You can build up other internalized beliefs that, you know, also can coexist with that. It's like, there's a lot to go into. I mean, media is really important. And so when people are like, it's just a show, don't watch it, it's just kind of like, well, I don't think I can change anything, but if we discuss it, maybe it'll start a ripple, and that could help.
Eventually, when you have conversations around things, that's where that change happens. That's where a revolution is. Yeah, but then also it's like, unless you love it exactly the way that I love it, then you can't enjoy it. No. Just because someone's critiquing something, there's a difference between critique and then just saying something shit. And we're not saying anything shit. We're just critiquing certain places. And it just needs to be, you know, that's it. And to
be fair, I'm like critiquing 90% of the show.
If you're watching and you don't notice that something is up, that's kind of like intellectually dishonest. If you know that there's something problematic and you're just like, okay. Anyway.
I think it is important to speak up. The reason I'm trying so much more is just because there isn't a collective voice on this. I know that there might be other reactors who do talk about it, but even with like something like, this is like a battle wound, but like the Fish Upon the Sky racism incident, I felt like I was the only reactor making a fuss about it. It feels like weird that people are able to raise certain issues, but if they don't make a big deal out of it, they can retain their viewership because they're not aggressive or too outspoken. But it's I guess one of the challenges of being a reactor. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, before we start watching this show, thank you for watching the whole sort of like lecture. If you watched the whole way through, I think, I don't know, I assume people like that. They like I'm getting comments that people like the more insightful intellectual discourse that we go through. So I'm just kind of like, okay, let's go there. If that's what y'all want.
That's what we can do.
Because I'm not really the sort of person to kind of like go, like every time something remotely romantic happens.
I do that, except when it's like called for.
We just wanted to let everyone know that we were planning a live video on the YouTube. The date's to be determined, but we just want to hang out, play games, do whatever. Just trying to think about doing it every now and then, so we can sort of engage the community a bit more, but just do something different and have a little fun. If there are people interested, just keep an eye out. We might be playing like Jackbox. I was like suggesting we could do it with some of the other actors, maybe even play some other games that have multiplayer things. Yeah, I hope that people are interested in that, because it would be really awkward if we did it and we were just talking to ourselves and no one was there.
I mean, I grew up as the only child, so, you know, I have no problem talking to myself. And now we begin. I really do like the theme song.
It's good. I was kind of expecting a character death at this point, and I'm kind of really hoping that there is one. People are just kind of like, if you don't like dark shows, don't watch it. You know what? I like when people die in shows, unfortunately. Like, it makes things feel real.
People saying, oh, if you don't like dark shows, you don't watch it. I think that's a cover for like, don't critique me. I've seen Faces of Death, so, you know.
You know what's dark? It's romanticizing rape, not necessarily.
You're way more loose than I thought. What?
A loose guy, yeah, down there, definitely. That's what he meant.
What? It's morning.
Okay, I know I'm biased against Porsche, because usually I like playful guys who like to joke around, but I still hate Porsche for some reason. I've been trying to think of like what makes Porsche special, and why Kinn's dad really needs him to kind of play his chess game metaphor at the beginning. The only thing I can think of so far is that there's some sort of code in his tattoo that might be important. Otherwise, I just don't know what it could be. I'm trying to figure out if Pete is just really nice or if he has like a secret darkness in him, which would be really interesting if he did. People were noticing how he didn't like look away when Vegas was doing that interrogation scene.
I think he's like maybe desensitized a little bit. Oh, look.
Look at what?
Is it even a BL if there's no product placement?
Okay, I mean, product placement is so cheesy nowadays. I'll accept this.
I need me a good product placement. I need a reminder that this is late stage capitalism. Oh, look at them. They're like...
Oh, awkward.
Mm.
Okay, no, it was on purpose. Okay, kill. I mean, why would you make that mistake? That's true. Oh, God.
Oh, God.
ดูแลที่บริเวณหน้างานส่วนนายพลกับบริการที่เหลือจะดูแลบริเวณคุณชินโอเคไหมครับต่อดิหยุดทำไมวะ
That's the end of that scene? Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot of wasted potential. Perth is like, you're in trouble. Huh. Perth is kind of like the rival schoolboy.
Yeah, like... I saw one of his streams when he was doing Portal.
The thing I forgot to talk about is what I assume is the softening of Kinn from the novel into this character. And I just don't know if the same care has been given to Porsche as a fully rounded person. Okay, but now we're just doing porn. which is cool.
I mean, that's why we're all here.
That's why we're here,
We're
pretty
all-
much. Like, yep.
Basically, the plot.
We might watch Mama Go-Go as well.
Yes, we will watch Mama Coco.
เจ๊บอกเคล็ดลับให้เลย1 อย่าง เราต้องหมั่นเติมความหวานให้กันและกัน เท่านั้น แค่นั้นเองเหรอคืนมึง
That's not gonna work.
Of course it will.
He's a mob boss. You're not gonna be taking him out.
ร้านไหนอะ
Yeah, but I think he just
มึงก็เซิร์ชใน Google
he's skin sensitive and he wants to be appreciated.
เก่งกว่ากูอีก
The thing about this scene is, I wish this was in the show earlier. It would help me understand where Porsche's head was at.
มันกลัวออกมาแล้วทะเลถลาย
I think if this was
But-
before the first episode, it would have been sweet.
ช่วยว่าอะไร
But remember, I was talking about like the show will give like Ken's perspective and then flip around. He did give Porsche's perspective, kind of like the way they did Theory of Love.
Yeah.
Now they're like going from Superman into like Clark Kent, so no one will recognize them.
I think it's nice though. Like Kin gets to have this sort of secret double life away from his mafia.
See,
roots.
I totally called it. I was like, they're being Clark Kent. Their secret identities.
You can't really run away from your roots though. It's gonna catch up to him one day. He's like, dude, wearing glasses. No one can see ya.
I think Porsche's going to have a thing. That way, he already had a thing about like dating a guy, and I think Ken is more like, let's do this. Like, I'm already there.
Ooh, is that a scone?
Yeah. It looks delicious.
It looks teensy for a scone. Oh, the relationship feels so healthy right now.
กูว่าแล้วว่าร้านนี้มันปล่อยลืมถ่ายรูปเอาโทรศัพท์มา
What? Does
เอาโทรศัพท์มาโทรศัพท์มา
does Porsche have a secret Instagram about food blogging? Or
รีบกลับบ้าน
Yes, that is the most normal thing ever.
มึงคายออกมาเลยนะ มึงทำอะไรอ่ะ มึงคายมาเลยนะ
Oh my gosh.
oh my god,
Porsche's me.
I hate everything that Porsche does. I just
Porsche's me.
ยิ้มหน่อยยิ้มหน่อย
See, and you know what?
มึงแก้มป่องด้วย
You know they're the one when they will pose with food for you and just like
yeah, if they don't do that, then you're just kind of like, you're dumped. True. Babe, stop eating the scone without the condiments. Without.
ภาพกันซะหน่อย
Is that a Polaroid?
Yes, instant camera. I love those.
Aw, cute. This is so wholesome. I'm very confused where we are.
That's because they're not in the center of the mafia.
มาแล้วเฮ้ย มึงดึงหน้าทำไมเนี่ย
That's just his face. His eyebrows. His eyebrows are like in a resting,
Right.
stressed.
Look at him. He's trying to smile. He's like, ah!
อะไรเนี่ย
Oh my god, Bosh. I see it. I see how their young love brings out their playful youth sides. They can just be kind of like chill and relaxed and kids.
But then they're enjoying each other's company. You know.
You know, they're taking a break from all the killing. Who are these?
Is that his parents? I think that's what we call his parents.
ดีไม่โดนไฮโซขับรถชนตายอ่ะ แต่คดีหลุด
Ah, gosh.
ทนไม่เจอเลย ไปสืบมาให้หน่อยว่าใคร
A cover up. Okay. Wait. Are his parents even dead?
Oh my god, they're dead. Okay.
What if they're not dead?
The parents weren't dead.
They got hit
and
by
they
a
were just
car,
like-
and then something caused Porsche to lose his memory. But then the parents faked their death to escape something.
Where are they living now? Are they living in the south of
In the countryside or something. People would fake their death to escape.
Okay.
I feel like that's a good reason for them to be alive. Maybe Porsche's like bait, or maybe Korn just wants to look after their kid in case they come back.
I think that there was a closer relationship between the two families.
I don't feel like Porsche's been that effective as a bodyguard so far, so I don't think it's his skills.
Whoa.
But then that would make them brothers.
Oh yeah, that would have been like that would have been a total Luke and Leia thing, and I'm just like,
Wait, what has Kim been through? What's your story?
Ooh. So beautiful.
I would kind of love it if Porsche's parents were the actual baddies of the show. Fakes their death to get away from Korn, and now he's sort of like, not a hostage, but... What? What? As if the girls in high school aren't jumping all over him.
Yeah, that's for later on. Dun dun dun. Oh no.
Okay, yes, I get it.
But the only problem about that is that this is not going to be.
I love this because things are gonna go wrong, and I just love the calm before the storm. I know something's gonna happen and wreck shit. I'm looking forward to that so much. I'm so into it. I'm so into them lulling us into a false sense of security. Let's go. Let's make us feel comfortable.
Kissing behind a waterfall.
It's lovely.
You're gonna stab him in the back.
Oh, they're worried about their own security guard.
Hey, this is a BL. There's some water right there.
I definitely wish we had this episode earlier. Oh, okay.
Mark my bingo, my BL bingo.
He's like, here, have my oxygen.
Underwater kissing.
Okay, the reason I don't like Jeff's song with these two is because I feel like Jeff is singing it to Porsche, and I don't want to imagine Jeff singing that love song to his brother. It's just weird, that intersection.
Oh my god, they're so like.
Thank God, Kin.
Send me a selfie.
Whoa, that is creepy. Golly gee.
Looks way too bitey.
So does Pete. I didn't expect him to draw anything, so there's no gag for me. Oh.
Oh, Uber Twinks.
Ah. Oh, dude, you're so bad.
You have to pick up what you're. Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I would never take him on a robbery. We would just get caught. So that's hilarious.
Okay. Oh god. Everyone is so horny.
Oh my god. That's, I mean, killing people, you know, makes you horny.
Oh my god.
หนักอยู่
It was rough.
ดูก็รู้แล้วคอมึงแดงเป็นจ้ำเลยน่ะ
Ah,
อย่าใช้คอรับดิวะ เดี๋ยวคอก็หักหรอก ใช้แขนรับทีหลังกรอบรูป
Oh, okay, so his bumbling did help him.
uh-oh.
Okay.
ไง คุณตะวัน แฟนเก่าคุณคินที่ตายไปแล้ว
Dead people coming back alive. So, I mean, his parents may be coming back alive too.
Unless Porsche's a medium all of a sudden. I mean,
That'd be awesome. He'd be like, Ken, you in danger, girl.
แช่
oh, it's Kim.
ทำไมพี่ไม่รับสายผมเลยอ่ะ
He's
Oh.
used you.
อ๋อ ช่วงนี้พี่ทำเพลงใหม่อยู่อ่ะ ก็อาจจะไม่ได้
อ๋อ ก็ว่าอยู่ เนี่ย ผมก็เลยไปขอที่อยู่จากเพื่อนพี่มา
Okay.
แล้วผมก็เอาเพลงรักที่พี่ให้ผมแต่งอ่ะมาให้พี่ฟัง
เดี๋ยวพี่ต้องไปแล้วอ่ะ
เดี๋ยวนะ
Porsche, okay.
พี่ฟัง
Oh.
ใช้เวลาไม่นาน
You're endearing, but sometimes annoying.
And I still think this is endearing.
เฮ้ย
Kim's like, I have a mafia conspiracy to solve.
สายสะพายมา แต่ว่าไม่เป็นไร ผมมีขาตั้งอื้อ
That is so cute, though. If you don't, like, take that boy in.
ในใจแต่มันติดขัดอยู่ทุกครั้งอึดอัดเพียงจากเสียงของหัวใจที่
ขอโทษนะครับเติมหน้าเบาเสียงหน่อยนะครับ
Lol.
Oh.
จะเล่นเสร็จ ขาตั้งเมื่อยพอดี โอเค
Oh my goodness, Kim.
ชอบไม่ชอบบอกด้วยนะพี่คิม
What do you mean? Kim is so suave.
บ๊ายบาย
That doesn't, like, melt your cold mafia heart. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
No,
Oh,
oh my god, Kim, don't get melted. Don't get
Yes.
melted by that
Yes.
kid. He's just a kid. My god, Kim needs to focus on the conspiracy. I don't know. I like the characters individually. I just don't want to ship them.
I want to ship them because I think they'd be, like, so
ไหนมึงเคยบอกว่าไม่ชอบดูหนังกับคุณหนู
adorbs.
Okay, speaking of Tankun, does he not have a bigger role in the story? Like,
Oh, they're watching it on QIY.
กูบอกแล้วใช่ไหม
oh my god, I love Arm. Look at him and his teddy bear. What a cutie pie. I don't do horror movies.
I don't do horror movies. That's the one thing we do. Ow!
Jeez Louise, Porsche. I mean, the irony that they're being scared while they're killers is not lost on me.
But there's a difference between killing something like a human being, but then also horror is something totally different.
I know, I'm just like, they don't seem very mafia-ish to me right now.
I love his jammies.
Alright, let's get to Taiwan. I want to know what's up with this ex.
It's after midnight and she's on the phone. No.
What? I don't know that.
Case of the X. Oh my god. All right, never mind.
No.
เฮ้ย 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 เฮ้ย
What the hell?
What?
No, we ain't. No, that's the hoodoo. No.
คืนนี้กูอยู่คนเดียวนะ มึงอยากลองอะไรใหม่ๆไหม ตอนนี้กูใส่ผ้าบางๆอยู่นะ
He's just trying to get him over. I'm not wearing anything. I'm butterball naked. Come get me.
What? Okay. Oh, he got a phallic sculpture that has been consecrated by a mentor.
Said him all to Pluto. And so it was still serving. Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
It's lovely. I mean,
throwing dicks at things.
that's a nice catch. Okay. I was worried that it would jam down his throat, but okay.
I mean, that's
มึงเห็น
the way that you deal with stuff. Just
แม่งตาม
throw dildos at your problems, and you know.
แล้ววันหนึ่งกูก็จับได้ ว่าตะวันหักหลังกู มันแอบเอาข้อมูลตระกูลกูไปปล่อยให้พวกอิตาเลียน
Mm.
กูก็เลย
Oh, well, now they're dead, though.
ยิงมัน
Okay. That's
จากนั้นกูก็เชื่อใจใครไม่ได้อีกเลย
that's extreme.
He told the family secrets and sold them to the Italians.
เจ็บมากเลย
He had to die.
กูไม่มีทางเลือก
Did he? God.
Yes,
ตะวันไม่ได้รักกู
he killed the dude who was taking money off of them, skimming money off of them.
ยัง
No, I'm not into that either.
มึงเก็บไว้ทำไมวะ
Ooh.
เนี้ยกูลืมไปหมดแล้วกูทิ้งกันเลยเนี่ยพยายามด้วย
He's jealous.
What the heck, Tawan? Tawan is such a zombie. Has he just been like living on the streets? Did you not shoot him to death?
You know what? This is the whole thing. If your whole thing is to kill somebody, if you're the mafia and stuff like that, well, you shoot them.
Where did you shoot him, babe? Like,
Right.
not in the head
Two
or
in
the
the
heart?
chest. Two in the chest, one in the head. That's the way you know they're dead.
You didn't shoot him. I think you shot Tawan's identical brother. Like, what happened?
Oh my God. So Juan, his a twin identical brothers.
ไม่เจอกันนานเลยนะ คิน พอสกลัวอะไรอ่ะ กลัวตะวันจะไปหลอกคินเหรอ หรือว่ากลัวเรื่องอื่น
Oh, I'm into this Dark X plotline. Okay.
Cool.
I enjoyed that episode. Probably a lot more than the other ones because everything mellowed out. We got to see. I think this episode needed to be earlier for me just to get more of a sense of everyone's internal feelings and relationship dynamic. But I liked it. The calm before the storm. So episode 8 was nice. I was mildly disturbed at Kin just claiming that he shot his ex because he betrayed him. I think it just reminded me of the duality of this show and that Kin is in fact, I don't think he did it maliciously or cold-heartedly, but he has to resort to a certain length to fulfill his role. And he will do that, like over sacrificing his humanity. And so it makes me nervous, or it makes me worried about his character, but also the contrast between everyone being silly and the severity of certain acts. Like, it just takes me out of the believability of it a little bit. If I was Porsche, I think I would be a little more concerned that Kin would choose his duty over love, but they kind of brushed it off, so I don't know like how they're both processing that like that. I don't even know how Kin recovers from, like, the only situation that I feel like was similar was Tyrion in Game of Thrones. Even then I thought that was super harsh what he did to her. I can't remember too much because it was a while ago, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe Tawana is this conniving, manipulative, evil man, but that's, I feel like, the only thing that could sort of justify it for me.
I like this episode. There were BL elements. There was just that cute and stuff like that and all that. Him killing the ex because the ex stole secrets and told about the family and sold the secrets to the Italians. I understand him killing him because he had to do it for family. And I know he may have not wanted to, and there may have been some like double talk, but I can understand he had to do it. He had to kill it for the family. You got to protect the mafia family. As far as Porsche being concerned, I don't think Porsche has to be concerned about that because Porsche is not going to be selling secrets, you know. The BL elements I loved, and it was great, and it was good. However, unlike other BLs and other stories where they actually build up to that and they get there, this one was kind of like, it's here. Like, it's here, enjoy it. And then I enjoyed it, but there was no lead up to that. However, it is not like the other flow of every other BL out there or every other story out there. So there's that. There was sexy time and there was that little intimacy of Kim getting Porsche the phone and just being like, oh, this is a way to get in contact with me and this is the way we're doing this. The underwater pool kiss scene, that was great. And them just being like little kids together and just like having, I originally said that it was a very immature relationship. It was very immature love. And that's what's coming out with them. And I guess in immature love and stuff like that, you can really enjoy, you know, each other for being what it is without any real baggage. And also, I know that there's something else coming down the line. It'd just be very interesting. I still want to get to the end to see how everything fits together, because right now, even with them, like, you know, going out in their secret identities and going out and doing this episode seems disparate. It's like a disparate episode. And so it'd just be very interesting when you have these several disparate episodes together, how they all, you know, fit, as opposed to when you have other storytelling where you have this episode on top of this episode on top of this episode. It's like this could be like from a totally different story. You see what I'm saying? Or does it make any sense?
I thought about that for the last episode. I thought that discontinuation was very obvious from like the plot continued, but the tone, the pacing, the character arc felt separate.
I know it takes you out, but I do enjoy the mix of comedy and seriousness and stuff like that. Maybe it's just me watching a whole bunch of Marvel stuff, and they're always like every so often just putting in quips and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't mind the horror and all that kind of good stuff.
I think the thing that's so disturbing is the contrast. Maybe it's on purpose of like the innocence in the relationship, and then the fact that Kinn has had to go through the process of deciding to shoot his ex. And like, it's not about necessarily knowing that he is someone who does that. I just want the show to land on something where it makes a choice on how to present Kinn. And that is the gray morality that they're trying to do. But for me, I want to see more about how it affected Kinn having to do that. Because right now, I know that he's scared of love, but he doesn't seem to be at a place where I feel like he is brushing it off too easily at this point. And I'm kind of just concerned that maybe he is more cold-hearted than we're being let on to. I'm not sure how to feel about him, because there's so much innocence, there's so much sensitivity there. It just doesn't match up right now to me that he had to do that. The other thing in this show is the Jeff Barcode relationship. I don't know, I'm not necessarily concerned about the age gap as much as I am in terms of the dynamic of the relationship that might happen, just in terms of maturity levels. Like, Porsche does not seem 17. He seems maybe 15. And then, I don't know, like, I think it's the fan thing. I think people are kind of like not too sure, or like not too cool about like musicians and stuff dating their fans. And I think maybe because there is some sort of like power thing. I think if I was Jeff, my process would be like, there's so much admiration in him. Like, it feels really weird to kind of figure out if he can see past that lens and if he can kind of see him as who he really is. Because right now he's just knows so much about Wick that I would feel weird knowing that someone likes a public persona and not the rest of me And I don't know, I'm just kind of murky on what's going on there. Forte doesn't feel like someone who's old enough to be in a relationship to me. Yeah.
I totally see them together. Like, but then also I think what Porsche is getting from it is that he doesn't see him as a persona, but also he's taking the time in which he came over to his house and he's been helping him with them song, and he wants him to go deeper with this love as something beyond the public's persona. If he was just only seeing him at concerts, it would just be that public persona. But they've had this intimate thing, in which he was like, okay, let
But
me
it's
help
not
you.
the real.
Let me give you a. Let me. But I'm telling you what Porsche is seeing, and he's seeing that, and he's giving him the guitar and all this other kind of stuff. I think with Kim is slowly, I think very much with like Ken, and I think these are kind of parallel relationships, not like as much as with the sexy time and stuff like that. But I think with Kim is starting to see him as himself and listening to the lyrics and all that kind of like melting his heart, and just like he's growing onto him. I think eventually he's going to have to like come out the closet and say, oh, hey, I'm a mafia guy. Which will be a little bit different than what like Porsche and Ken are doing, because Porsche already knows Ken is, mafia and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be a whole little thing with that relationship when it eventually comes to that. Anyway,
I'm not totally comfortable with that relationship at this point. It's definitely a maturity thing for me. Porsche, he's just got stars in his eyes, and I think that's not the best way to go into something. I mean, I'm gonna try not to pass judgment. I'm sure there are lots of relationships out there that have this weird power dynamic, right? Celebrities dating fans and whatnot. So I'm just saying I'm not too sure about it right now. And then the other part is I don't want Kim to be like...
You don't want to be in love with anyone. You want to be ruthless.
I feel like Kim has the best head on his shoulders. I just don't want him to get swept away with all the immaturity in the rest of the show. I feel like Kim is the most stoic. He understands boundaries, like he goes for his goals, but he also understands duty, and he's able to balance that, because he is trying to uncover the secret of Porsche, and he can do that, but also he knows that he can create distance from them. I think he's very sorted, and I think he's a bit too young to kind of take in a sugar baby or whatever. So,
oh wow.
I would definitely prefer him to see someone with him like more at his level in terms of life experience. I think Tuan is going to be painted to justify Kin's behavior and as another ultimate bad. The Italians are all dead, so like I feel like maybe Tuan had a reason to do so. So I'm open to being sympathetic towards him. He looked kind of, I don't know if he was like on drugs, but he looked like a zombie. So I think maybe there could be something more there. And yeah, I wonder if Porsche's parents are really dead.
I mean, Tuan's not dead.
Tuan's not dead, so people
obviously don't die in this universe.
As long as it's not like a half-brother situation. It'd be like finding, I don't know, like a toenail in your soup. You're just like, oh, I was enjoying this. And everyone in the comments is like, that's a lie. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like Luke and Leia, where they kissed and then come to find out they were brother and sister.
It's like watching Made in Abyss and then finding out the creator is a pedophile. It's just kind of like, ugh. Like, no, we don't need incest. Anyways, it's probably not happening. So, random anime reference. But yeah. Anyways, we'll stop there. Thank you everyone for watching our episode 8 reaction to KinnPorsche. Leave us a like, leave us some comments, even if they're not the nicest. I just encourage dialogue. And subscribe to us,
also,
please.
See us over on
the Twitter. That would be lovely if we could get some more people interacting with us. See you again for next week. Bye everyone. Thank you for watching.
See you later.